Taking a moment here to connect. I might actually cancel. Oh, a day. How you doing?
I'm good. Sometimes it's the Spectrum Wi-Fi. It's trash. Sometimes it just does not do what it's supposed
Thanks.
to
All right, no love for Spectrum.
do. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, stars and sunshine.
Delicious.
So you're a
Mm.
dancer.
Yes.
Cool.
Hence the
Um,
extra razzle dazzle that we always have in someone singing.
it's so funny. Like that kills me because I'm so far from that dancer world. So like my guys and girls that come on like that, I'm like, be you, man. Just do your thing.
It's just the thing. It's like when we see cameras, we're just like,
Yeah.
yes, and back to normal.
Well, I do and I do like the shopping channel stuff. So before pre-COVID, so I'd be on air doing like fitness modeling and stuff like that, and I love it. Like I love being on camera and love that TV stuff, but like still no like song and dance, no Showtime stuff. It's just like I just think it's cool to be like in that space. But yeah, you're like next level.
We have to swing for the fences or we won't get a job.
Right, exactly. Are you still like dancing? Like, do you do like acting and all that stuff too pre-COVID or?
Pre-COVID, I did. I took a while. I tell people I took a sabbatical from dance for like 3 years. For me personally, I'm very open about my neurodivergency and my mental health. I
Mhm.
had a mental health break. I had a mental breakdown at
Oh,
about three,
really?
4 years ago. Yeah, it was one of those moments where you're like after like it was like that kind of movie montage after like the audition. I'm going walking
Yes.
uptown, bawling tears. I get home like I can't do this anymore. Literally, that's what But actually, with the
Wow.
pandemic, I've been like, I want to get back into it because now that it's more of a safe space. You're at home. I feel
Yes.
more comfortable. And I've kind of gotten back into it, actually talking to Michelle more about it. I've been like, I kind of want to get back into dance. I kind of want to do
Mm,
more dance things. Maybe.
yeah. Is what we have this, like you're saying, like, because now we're home, you kind of get a chance to find yourself, right? Like,
You
like
do.
a lot of those distractions are gone, and you get to get quiet with yourself and figure out like what are my passions? What are the things that, can die with being out there and the things that I'm gonna hold on to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for me, it's one of the things of, I was actually talking to someone yesterday. I was saying, a woman I was talking to, I was like, it's kind of hard to run a business. Well, because last year was technically the first year I've ran my business. I've ran working for myself, running my
Really?
business. Yeah, this is my first year of just running my business myself. Like I've never worked for myself or anything until COVID.
Wow. So I don't mean to cut you off from your story, but I need to say it looks so polished and so professional, and I thought you've been doing this for a long time, honestly.
I literally learned top of COVID. Because also I was finishing math. I had writing for sciences, and I was finishing pre-calculus. I was finishing school when COVID started. I had to learn how to video edit. I had to learn how to build a website, do graphic designing, all within the first 3 to 6 months of COVID. Like the pandemic shut down, I
Really?
was like, oh, what am I going to do?
Talk about
Kind of
making a
scary.
pivot. Yeah.
Extreme pivot, like a lot of crying nights.
Well, you don't have to tell us about the crying nights. You can just be like, yeah, that's what we do. We're professionals.
Oh, I'm back. I'm
It's just
fine.
another stage.
It is though. It is just another stage, and I will say the one thing that kept me grounded was therapy, twice a week sometimes.
Really.
Yeah, therapy kept me really grounded during this time because it was
Mhm.
one of those, as in speaking, circling back to the story, it's we were talking about, it's like you can't run a business with bad habits. You can't run a business with bad thoughts. You can't run a
Yeah.
business with just anything that's going to self-negate you. You can't run a business by yourself.
Right. Yeah.
So I feel like for me, the past year has been kind of that excavating of myself and that kind of like, what are the things that I actually really need to get to work on that are actually going
Yes.
to push me further in life. So,
Yeah, yeah. I kind of summarize it to saying what makes me come alive,
mm,
right?
I like that.
Yeah, and that's how I gauge things that I'm gonna do. Is this something that makes me come alive, or is this something that's going to take energy and just cost me time, and I'm gonna have to manufacture it to make it happen, right? Like if I'm it's weird because I mean I like working hard. Don't I like to grind and I'll go bell to bell. But there's times when I'm like, wait a minute, I'm working too hard for this right now. Like I'm trying harder for this than it is for me.
Exactly. Like there's a glitch in the matrix. Like why is this isn't computing. I like to use like this isn't computing. Why isn't
Yes.
this lining up? I'm doing everything I need to do, but yet and still the results or the drip from the faucet is not full flow, and I don't understand
Right.
why. I get
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like for me that was that's wellness. That is wellness. That is actually just in general my lifestyle and kind of what I want to cultivate in life.
Yes.
Actually speaking with another friend, they have been keeping me grounded, like just talking to people because you're at home alone, quiet all day
Yes.
long.
Right.
It was this is my lifestyle. It was one of those weird things of like I'm in business for myself, but it's one of those this is my life. Like as in like speaking of anti-racism, being queer, being black, like this is my life. Wellness is my life. And it was one of those like I had to actually switch my brain into thinking more like actually no, people need to know that I wake up every morning and I speak to my coffee. Or I do mirror my like I do different things. It's really like this is my life. Pilates is a part of my life. I used to hate
Yes.
Pilates. I tell people all the time. I hated Pilates with the
Really. Yeah.
depth of my.
Can you, how do you speak to your coffee?
Oh, so it'll be like this. Thank you, coffee. Thank you, ancestors. I appreciate you. Because if you think about it, we're in a closed kinetic chain or a closed system for water. Technically,
Yes.
all the water that's been used has been the same water that our ancestors have washed with, our spirits have washed with, we've washed with, our parents. So it's one of those kind of like just blessing it, giving it back to ourselves. And it's something you do every morning. It's just a nice reset to kind of bring me back into myself.
That's a very good exercise in mindfulness.
Mhm. Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Love that.
My therapist always forces me to be be extremely mindful because I have a like disassociation. It's kind of like more of a disorder than a symptom. Dissociative disorder. So it's a lot of times I actually can just disconnect in the middle of things. So it kind of helps me
Yes.
keep grounded.
Grounded.
And
Yeah.
yes, groundedness has been the one thing that's helped me through this entire pandemic. It's just the grounding.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That sounds like a great takeaway. Do you have any other takeaways from your from your therapy time? You say going twice a week. What was kind of like a aha moment for you that you keep giving back to other people?
Moment for me was actually like really sitting down with my therapist and him telling me like Bridget, I know we have these issues and you keep adding labels. For me, he told me to stop adding labels to things.
Oh,
Stop trying to, for me, I have speaking back to that dissociative disorder is I have sometimes have an issue of seeing myself like fully, like actually like really looking in the mirror and be like, this is who you are.
yes.
Um, Taking away those labels. So yes, I'm a Pilates instructor. Yes, I'm a personal trainer. Yes, I'm all these things, but really trying to just see yourself for you clearly. Like
Hmm.
don't look to any label. Don't ask for your opinions from other people because a lot of times we tend to be like, how do I come off? How do
Right.
you see me? And he
To
literally
find that
has told me,
validation.
yes, he was like, you don't, he was like, Bridget, I told you this multiple times before, but stop looking for external validation. You don't really need it anymore. No external validation.
Yes.
Try to like just live life without
You're uniquely empowered and qualified.
it. Yes, yes. And
Yes.
it was that you are qualified, you are powerful, but also you need to give yourself the chance to do all that. You need to give your chance to, as in taking Sarita's class yesterday, um, expand into your bones, expand into your body. You deserve to live fully in yourself, as in like not just from your heart or from your stomach or from your brain, but like fully into yourself
Right.
from the tips of your fingertips to the bottom of your toes. All of it.
Mm, absolutely. Yeah. And like my wife just put that, or so am I. Like that sense of recognizing your own worth and not looking
Yes.
at others and elevating other people above yourself. Like I'm lowly, I'm over here, and I'm not at these
Mhm.
people's level. Like I am just as good as the next person. Like they're qualified and so am I, or they're a great teacher and so am I, or they're a great dancer and so am I.
And
Yeah,
usually
that's
for me, when I feel that way, I haven't done, for me, I like to do research and just read a lot. But it's one
Mhm.
of those like, there's always, usually if I have that imposter syndrome instead of maybe I should just go read a book more. Like, or is there something of an inadequacy that I have somewhere, or there's a reason why there's.
Right. And and that's a good question to ask yourself because, sometimes reading that 19th book is just a distraction,
Oh, yes.
right? Like it's just postponing something that you were ready to do 15 books ago. Like just sometimes you have to just jump into something or throw yourself out there, or like I was saying before you came on with this event, this could flop or it can be wildly successful just having this speed networking thing. And it's like, well, we have to do things sometimes out of our passion in spite of our fear that it might fail. Like
Yes.
what if this comes across as unprofessional? What if it comes across as not polished? What if it comes across as not good enough? What if it comes across as just like some janky event and everyone complains about it? And then, you know what I mean? Like you can get caught up in all that stuff, or I can go on YouTube and spend like 5 days reading every tutorial on how to make this the best thing ever and never actually press that publish button and make the event live. So how do we, navigate that is
Mm,
the question.
yeah. How do you navigate it? How do you someone, oh, I was not older, seasoned in the Pilates world, or just seasoned in wellness and personal training. And I was listening the other day, I think it's like keeping it spicy, but how do you navigate it, especially after so long? Because I've
Mm.
only been in the industry like 5 years, so I'm like a baby to everybody and the mother that. So in 3 years, I'm like an infant over here.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
how do you navigate it and consistently navigate it and be motivated to do it? Because a lot of times I don't find
Yeah. Maybe it's my fascination with people,
it.
or that, so like when someone said on here about being curious, and that sparked in me, that made me come alive thinking like, yes, curiosity is the word that I never used before, but that is exactly it. I'm always
Mhm.
curious about people's bodies, curious about their injuries, curious about their motivations, curious about what gives them strength, those sort of things. So I can be training for 50 years and then I have a new person and then it's like my first client all over again. Or I can have
Mhm.
someone like one of my clients that I still see is a second person I ever trained in 2001.
Oh my goodness, 20
So
years.
yeah, yeah, 20 years. And when she started, she had, she was in her, like she was just turning 40. She was still working full time and she'd never exercised a day in her life. And it was like doctor saying like, you need to start moving sort of thing. And
Mhm.
I was being mentored by somebody, and then she, eventually went back to teachers college, and then I inherited this lady as my client, and I've been with her ever since. So there's a sense of just like always asking new questions. I'm creating the questions that keep me interested sometimes,
Ooh, I like that.
So that's the thing, and that's the curiosity. So if I'm always asking questions, then I can always keep myself interested in it, even when I'm bored with you. Like, I can be like,
Agreed.
I wonder what would happen if we did this. I wonder if their body needs this. What would happen if this? Like that sort of thing. So there's a sense of that keeps me motivated in it. And also just knowing that I'm also in this frame, like you said at the beginning, of what makes me come alive. Like if I was making six figures doing data entry, I'd want to put a pencil in my eye because it's not my thing. And I wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to do it for 20 years. I'd just be like, I just can't do it anymore. I'd be out.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Just sorry, reading a couple comments here. Andrea's comment: learning from our mistakes can be extremely helpful to improve. And you real nice human, Martin. She does prove it long term. But yes, yeah. So there's I don't know, and also on a personal level too. I feel like there's been points of disappointment in my personal life that I've gotten to the other side. I'm in a better place than I was before it happened. And I can go back to those checkpoints in my life and translate that to everything. So I'm making a professional decision. And then I'm like,
Mhm.
well, what if it fails? Well, I failed over here before and I'm fine. So let's just go for it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's a kind of a
Yeah.
crass way to say it in my own life, because I know people always want to save you, say, well, it wasn't a failure because you had kids during that time, or it wasn't a failure because of whatever. But like the way that I tell myself it to keep me moving is you hit a point that was a rough point, you got through that point, you're over here now, so do that, run that same play for everything.
Yeah.
It's
I like
yeah.
that. Run the same play for everything, or I like to use as talking to a friend, the computer download. You're still trying to do the same things, you're trying to do new things with the same program, with the old programming. You have to
Yes.
download a new program. You have to.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
the only way it's gonna function.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
But
Your quote that you said earlier, just as we're preparing for this, about self-care is a means of political resistance. Resistance?
yes, Audre Lorde is my queen, my dear. I love her. I love reading her work.
Yeah.
What the quote is caring for myself is not self-indulgent. It is a form of political resistance.
Mm.
And that has been kind of one of my guiding quotes in general as a Black woman, Black queer woman, just in general across all wellness life for me.
Yes.
Because technically that's what you do. We care. We care for other people. We have to care for ourselves first, but we care for other people. And it really makes me happy actually to like show specifically, especially Black women, that you all matter, that we matter,
Yes.
that we should build up ourselves. But also, as we know, having Black mothers, like watching them run themselves into the ground is not something I actually like to see. It makes me extremely sad.
Yes.
So it's a place of back to navigating, back to excavating. It's the like touching yourself, being honest with yourself. And
Mhm.
the quote we mentioned earlier was, "Our bodies will always tell the truth." Your body will literally always tell you what you need, when you need it, and why you need
Yes.
it.
Yes. But do we have too many distractions in it that we can't even hear that voice? Because that voice, that
Yeah,
body, is whispering when everyone else is yelling sometimes.
it is definitely the silent kid in the cafeteria.
Mhm. I never heard it said that way.
I was definitely the
So
silent kid
true.
in the cafeteria.
Yeah.
We do. We have computers, Kindles, Spotify, podcasts, like everything that a lot of time, circle back. A lot of things that happen, I notice is we tend to cover up a lot of things. So we'll get the mani-pedis, we'll get the massages, the waxes, the books, the journals, the
The
tarot card readings,
candles. Yeah.
all of it. We'll do everything because I've been that girl. We'll do everything.
Yes.
But when we understand that, like I tell people, like meet me at the mat. The hardest thing is just sitting down. Like just sit down and just
Yes.
try to clear out.
Still. Yes.
Sit still. And as an Aries, I can't sit still. But yeah, sitting still, peace be still. You will find peace and stillness. And
Yes.
teaching that is the hardest. As we all know, the person that fidgets on the mat, I'm that person that fidgets on the mat. Like I sit still, hold the position. I cannot. It's
Yeah.
that. It's teaching people to hold themselves and to
Right.
be self-sufficient. That's the one thing
Hmm.
I find about wellness, or find about just in general life, or coaching people, is just being self-sufficient. How can you
Yeah.
take what I was thinking about this earlier actually.
Hmm.
How can you hold the 8,000 corrections that I've just given you? How can you hold this
Right.
and still get through life and still navigate the movement? It's can
Yes.
you hold space for yourself? You're teaching
Right.
someone to hold space for yourself. Can you
Mhm.
hold space? Can you hold mental, physical, spiritual space for yourself to allow yourself to grow and expand in your body?
Yeah. You know what? I have to say, whenever I start to talk to people about that, the first thing I look for is fear in their eyes when I tell them to be by themselves.
Ooh.
I look for that. What? It's a scary thing to be with your thoughts. It's a scary thing to be with yourself
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
sometimes.
It is. For me, I was enlightened to it by a book by Osho. Depending on if anyone has any type of opinions about him. But it's called Love, Aloneness, and Freedom. And it talks about like being alone and how you actually have to, what am I trying to say? It's the thoughts that come up. It's the things that nag you in your sleep that you
Yep.
never really realize that like are like embedded subconsciously.
Yep.
And it's the going back to me helping with me seeing my therapist twice a week last year was the having the will to just be like, be quiet. Just be like telling that girl to just be quiet in your head and go sit down somewhere. Like right now, tuning into yourself is probably the hardest. Thank you, Lola. That's my cat. It's the tuning into yourself and quieting everything else around you to find that kind of Zen Tai Chi moment, Qigong moment of. It's kind of for me personally when I think about it more, it comes calming. It's a calming thing to me now. Like it doesn't trigger me to be alone. But I feel like for a lot of people with the pandemic and with us navigating through this pandemic, it's the aloneness that I think that's really been messing with a lot of people.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
It's the level of I've never had to deal with myself, including myself. Like this, it's I have to actually deal with myself. Or the fact that I've dealt with myself this long. How did I make it? That was I've been running this one program for how long?
Yes.
How did I make it this far?
Right. Yeah. Well, it's probably like training because you did it in intervals. You didn't do it for a sustained period like we are right now.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm over myself. Let's go do something else. No, you don't have that choice. We're still here, right? Like,
we still have to make it through. You still have probably another year to be here. So what are you going to do to actually make sure you survive this mentally?
Right.
Intact.
Yep.
What about you? How have you been dealing with aloneness? How do you like to, not even deal with, how do you like to deal with it? Because we all feel lonely.
Yeah, I like it. I don't know. I'm in one of those spots where, you know, those like Myers-Briggs things where like you're introvert, extrovert, and all those different things. Okay. So every time I've done this, I was like, let's say a 17 extrovert and a 16 introvert.
Ooh, okay.
So you know what I mean? So I wasn't like I was a 23 extrovert and like a 5. I was a 7. Right. So when I'm alone, I want to be around people. And when I'm around people, I need to like get alone. Right? So like my wife just said they're master of the cocoon. And what she means by that is when I'm like if I'm in something, if something's in my head or I'm frustrated or whatever it is, I'll just pull away from everything just to find like an answer just within myself. I journal, I just capture all those thoughts and put them on paper. And when my wife and I were dating, she recognized that I needed that space, and she'd be like, okay, you just need to cocoon. I'll be over here, like message me when you're done, sort of thing. And then over time, I got to a place where I felt quote unquote safe enough in our relationship where even when I was in my cocoon, I'd let her in and be like, this is what I'm thinking about or whatever, or I just need some space. And she will still give me that space, but at the same time, I will invite her into that space. You know what I'm saying? But like that alone time or that aloneness is something that is key for me. And I think that's an introvert extrovert thing for me. So I love this, and I love the energy of, even though this is digital, like this time is my extrovert time. And I'll need to just like sit down and just write down, you know, some of our takeaways or whatever. And that's only for myself to be like, okay, that's good. I like how she said that. And I'll chew on that. And some things I run with, and you'll see posts about it, whatever, because I mull stuff over a lot. And then I have weeks where like it's just too much and I need to just like sit in front of the TV with my blanket for like 20 hours straight, you know? And hibernate. Yes.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think I did one of those, like the INTJ, I think I got was for the thing. And I think that's like the most rare thing. I don't really, I accept them, but then sometimes I don't accept them because I think they're scandalous sometimes.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I've been known to be like the ambivert, like the in between kind of person. But
Yes.
I feel like I think it's a spiral for me because sometimes I spiral inward and like I could be the most introverted person in life, and then in other words, I'll be like the most extroverted person. Uh, I think both are needed. I personally don't
Mm.
like to go skew to both sides. Like I can't really have extremely extroverted friends. Like they scare me. Like extreme extroverts scare me. But then also extreme introverts scare me because I'm just
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
can't just hide. Like I have my best friend. She's a Taurus. She literally just hibernates. Like plays
Mm.
video games all day, eats brownies, drinks liquor. Like that's all she does.
Yes.
Nothing against it, but that's just what
No.
she loves to do. For
Right.
me personally, I need the personal interaction. I still
Mhm.
love the personal interaction where I can tell
Yeah.
people when I do class, it's like I'm on stage.
Yeah. Right.
And then it's kind of like
That's
if you ever see a dancer, we'll be
yeah.
on stage getting it. And then
Yeah.
once we get off stage, we're collapsing. We're going home. Like, bye.
Yes.
Don't say anything to me. I
Don't
just
talk.
gave it all.
Yeah. Right. See you on stage next time. Yeah. That's true, right? Actually, it just reminded me too when I read the word cocoon as Alex put that up there, and I heard this analogy about a cocoon that just helped to fill out that whole story for me in terms of what I do. If you think about like a caterpillar that goes into that cocoon, right?
Mhm.
It goes into a cocoon, and then when it's turning into a butterfly, part of the work is breaking out of that cocoon,
Mm.
right? If that caterpillar doesn't struggle while it's in that cocoon and doesn't fight to get out, it will never fly.
Ooh.
So if I have a cocoon and I was to take a pair of scissors and just like cut it open, here you go, you're free, go. That kind of it will never fly. It because it didn't actually get a chance to strengthen itself to be able to get out and actually fly by
Mm-hmm.
struggling to get out of that cocoon. So when I go into my cocoon, I know that that's where I'm in there to wrestle with something. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't need somebody to save me when I go in my cocoon.
Mm. Ooh, you save yourself. That's
I
magical.
save myself. Or I ask for help, but I don't need someone like if you see me in a funk, don't be like trying to like make me laugh and make me try and save me and get me doing stuff like no, I just need to wrestle with this for a minute. Let me figure
Yeah,
this
just let me
out.
sit with it. Mhm.
Yeah, let me sit with it. Let me just sit with it. Let me feel the pain. Let me move on from that. So then when I'm done, I can come back to that point and be like, okay, remember how you dealt with it last time? Maybe you
Mm.
just need to sit down with it. Maybe you need to journal. Maybe you need to talk to someone who's gone through that before, like whatever it is. But let me figure out how to wrestle with that stuff instead of you coming and just cutting open the cocoon to set me free because I'm not going to be able to fly.
Agreed. Agreed. You don't. Yeah, you never learn the self-efficacy to hold your own bones up, to hold your own self.
Right.
Mm.
Now we're talking Pilates. So
But in general, I find Pilates to be very indicative to also life. This is also how I date. I date people, but the only way I'm going to actually put like a stamp on my relationship is if we actually work out together.
there you go.
You learn, I have to work out with you before I make a serious decision about the relationship.
Do you have any other prerequisites? Because I used to have like 90 of them.
No, that's just like my only
Just one.
one. I feel like
So
no,
simple.
because you can tell a lot about a person through a workout. Just not even like the whole like, oh my gosh, your left foot is in like just craziness, like the usual body things. But you can tell a lot about a person's mental and spiritual state with their workout. You
Yes.
can tell how they feel about themselves, how comfortable they feel, how connected they are to their breath and their soul and their like
Hmm.
life force. Like you can just tell a lot about a person through a workout.
Yeah. Or just simply how confident they are.
Agreed. Yeah, definitely. Or how they take correction. Can they take correction? Do they want
Right.
correction?
How
Do they are
coachable are
they
you?
I got into an argument with a boyfriend about a deadlift. He got so pissed at me because he was rounding his back and I was like, I clearly get paid for this. Please just listen to me. We got into a whole argument. We ended up breaking up, but I was like, I'm clearly the professional here.
Right.
You don't want to take advice? Okay. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I have no time for non-coachable people. Sorry.
Exactly. And then one time I was training for a marathon, and I was dating this guy in Brooklyn, and he was training for the marathon too. He was trying to challenge me for like a 6 mile run in Prospect Park. So they had this really huge hill.
Mhm.
Smoked him, and I was like, please don't challenge me. Like that's what you have to understand. in my relationship, don't challenge me because I'm the one.
Too funny. I was gonna go back to what you're saying about like we touched on it for a second with the self-care and like women empowerment and stuff like that. And one of the things you said, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I wrote down a line that I heard from my dad all the time growing up. And it's so funny how like you said it in this context, and I was just like, yes, that makes so much more sense to me. He would say to us, to my brother and I, he was like, you can lie to me, you can deceive me, you can cheat on me, you can like trick me, but don't ever disrespect your mother.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like don't ever lie to your mom, don't ever disrespect your mother.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it in such a stern voice at such a young age that it just ran fear in us.
Yes. Chills down
Right?
your spine. Like,
Chills down your spine. So that kind of thing sticks with me because then I see how that he was protecting his queen and saying, when you guys grow up, don't take advantage of her. And I remember that because then it's like you take that, transfer that to every woman in my life. It's like, don't disrespect them. Like I see that, like with even my sister, when I see her disrespect my parents or do something when we were younger or get in the fight, and the things that she could get away with that my brother and I couldn't get away with. It's like, wait a minute, did you not get the same speech that we did? Like,
no,
because
no.
I was scared when I got that speech. How are you getting away with this right now? So there's a sense of that protecting the woman thing that was just totally ingrained with me from a young age. And I see that in like, even with my wife now with her kids, and like everyone has different ways of being raised and different ways of interacting. But like, I'm like, whoa, like I see that with kids, like whatever, anytime I see a woman being disrespected, you get that sense of like, I was taught not to do that. How are you getting away with that?
Exactly. In some ways, I also do feel people actually are taught that, like taught to not disrespect women. It depends on the like family dynamic and things like that. But some people actually are taught that, but I do think they unlearn it as they get older or unlearn it as
Yes.
they see other people, see society. I was actually just listening to a podcast called From the Secret Lives of Black Women.
Okay.
They were
Yeah.
talking about how they were talking about fashion and how we dress and things, and how they were like, from the moment we are 5, 6, when we start to develop our bodies, we're taught that our bodies are wrong. We're taught that we are deemed less, or we are lesser than, or we're taught that I feel like for us, it can be kind of ingrained. We're kind of taught it from the beginning. I always speak of how as Black women, or it's just as women in general, 7 to 8-year-old women, when we're at that age, 7 and 8, we're like, yeah, gung ho, I can do anything. And then after 8, you're like, I don't know what happens. Like society happens.
Yeah.
After like 7 to 9, society happens. We're taught to look at ourselves in a different way. We're taught to,
Right.
we're seen as ugly. We're because society doesn't really show us. Like, and for me, like with the Black and queer intersectionality with myself, is because I'm very big on visuals. I'm very big on like seeing myself. I need to see myself because it makes me feel validated. And I think that's one of the big reasons why it's like protect the Black woman, because we are the life force of America. We're the life force of the world, in my opinion. But specifically in America, we are the life force. We push the envelope. We push everything from wellness to, for me, kind of what triggered it for me. Sorry, my brain's going all over.
Go. Yeah.
But for me, what the book that actually kind of helped me open my eyes to that was Mojo Working. And it talked about how the benefactors of the wellness, or the benefactors of the physical and spiritual community, were white people, but the people, it was built off the backs of Black women. We were the original doctors, we were the original birthers, we were the original clothers for everyone. Like, we ran, we are
before there were titles and status attached to them.
Exactly. So now that you add those labels and add those like type of statuses to things, we kind of made it more of a capitalistic, patriarchal thing. Yes. But Black women were the first people to take care of America, the first people to take care of everyone but ourselves. And that is something I've come to be very passionate about, is teaching people, like teaching Black women that you deserve to sit down and quiet out everything and take care of yourself, because
Yes.
what are you going to do? Because you can't ignore it. It's just going to
Right.
find you later.
Right. True. So what do you do with that? I mean, so now I as a woman, I had the aha moment. This is my status. Now what? Like, I mean,
The
like,
aha moment.
yes.
That's scary. It's fear. It's fear in the
Exactly.
aha moment. It's joy. It's fear. It's shame. It's grief. It's
Hmm.
so many things when you realize how long you neglected yourself. And
Yes.
I will relate it back to the COVID and the pandemic, and having a lot of conversations with people, because a lot of people haven't sat alone with themselves for this much. It's that for me, I felt a lot of grief and shame that I've ignored myself for so long,
Hmm.
that I didn't give myself these things, or that I didn't feel worthy enough,
Right.
or I didn't do enough work. And a lot of times we don't really think about it is, oh, I haven't done enough work today to give myself a Pilates
To
class, or
justify it. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't done enough work to justify the needs.
Hmm.
And that doesn't, even when you think about it and you speak about it, it doesn't make any sense. It's just you have to do this or you literally will not continue. Like, you will cease to continue. You, it's not a game.
No.
You have to do this. You have to move. You have to breathe. You have to do something. You
Right.
can't ignore it any longer.
Right.
And I think it's just that taking the reins of it is the hardest part. It's the
Love that.
grabbing. It's not the, like, we love spending money. Oh, listen, we love spending money.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
love spending money on taking care of ourselves, but it's the grabbing the reins and holding them is the hardest part I find for people. It's that, for specifically women, it's like the holding on to that, because something always gets in the way, or
Yeah.
I don't have this, or I don't have that, or I didn't get this, or this moment in my life came out of nowhere, or like last
Yes.
week we had an insurrection, like random things.
Right. Right.
It's the ability to hold on to it has been the hardest part I find, or the thing that's been the journey for most.
Right. And what you said about grief and shame too. If you think about it, it's almost like if you're in a bad relationship and then you break up and then you kick yourself for not ending that relationship 6 months earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then so you could stay in this place right here where you're beating yourself up because you didn't follow the signs and you didn't listen to those red flags and all those different things. Or you can say, okay, well, I'm stronger now. I'm more knowledgeable now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to take care of myself now. And I'm going to fight for myself now, sort of thing. So you can do one of two things. You can stay in that place of bitterness, or you can simply just get better from now on.
Yes. And I'm very big on the thing of, once you ask the universe for something, the universe will directly challenge you. Will do
Mm,
every single time. You ask, oh, I want to wake up to drink water before my coffee every morning, or something like that. Like something arbitrary. Your
yeah.
universe will challenge you every morning, every
Yes.
day. Will give you that thought of, oh, I don't want to do. No, it is literally, you have to. It's comes from self coaching. It's
Hmm.
that you have to speak to yourself, as I tell people all the time. There's no stars and sunshine. There's no rainbow that's gonna smack you in your head to tell you to drink water. You have to think to do it.
Yes.
It's
Right.
literally a neuromuscular thing. It's a
Right.
brain to body connection. You literally have to coach yourself through every little thing. There's no one that just, when they
Absolutely.
say like confidence isn't a personality trait. What
Hmm.
they're saying is confidence is a habit. It is, you literally are coaching yourself every day. I am confident. I am confident. I am confident.
Yes.
And then at some point it'll click. At some
Right.
point it'll come automatic. And here you are. But you
Right.
have to get to that automatic part first. It takes a lot of time.
It does. It really does. And in the same way that you say that about whether it's a personal challenge like drinking water, I say that with our businesses too. And a challenge is in the name. So you say, I'm going to call myself wellness, and best know you're going to be attacked in your wellness,
Oh yeah, definitely.
right? I'm calling myself personal victory. Now I'm going to be challenged to find and achieve those personal victories. I'm not competing against anyone but myself. So how do I find those places where I can celebrate making those small wins
Mhm.
day over day over day, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, those are our challenges, and that's how we, I keep saying that's how we get better when we get find those things and we can rehearse those and we can and celebrate those moments. And
Yeah.
it's so funny. That reminds me of the conversation we were having last week. We almost had this a debate during one of our freestyle conversations about consistency and discipline.
Mm.
right? So we're saying, okay, so what's the difference between those two terms? Because you can almost use them interchangeably.
You can.
You can almost, almost. So we had this conversation. We're going back and forth, and we're just like, stop for a second. Well, let's just go on Google. Let's just find a definition. And discipline is the application of set rules or guidelines or whatever it is to do something, right? Consistency is the adherence to those guidelines, whatever it is, right? So we need both of those. You need to wake up a few minutes earlier to drink water. That's your discipline. You need to do that 5 days in a row. That's your consistency.
Yes. I like that. Getting there, the journey. Yeah, I think the beauty is in the journey of that. The beauty
Absolutely.
and one thing I've definitely learned about the discipline and consistency is not beating yourself up about it, is actually letting yourself just like let go and free fall into it. Like it may not happen in the beginning. Like for me, I want to make 5 TikToks this week. I haven't made one, but I'm
Good for you.
not in a way of like I'm being avoidant. It's one of those. I made one. Great. Now I have to, it's the being willing to make that journey through consistency and discipline, like finding it. That okay, well, I only drank water 3 times. Let's try for 4 next. It's
Right.
back to that kind of self-coaching through it.
Mm-hmm.
But I find discipline to be very easy for me. I can be very rigid very quickly, but the consistency is the part that I struggle with because of the something always gets in the way, or your brain, or the negative self-talk and that kind of self-negating habits that can kind of ruin the consistency. You may be really great at discipline, but the consistency may not be there.
Yeah, well, then I think that's where we need to be more vigilant, right? Like you almost like it's like you go out looking for that fight. Like you know that there's going to be someone out there resisting you trying to be consistent with this. So be proactive. Look for that. Look out for that thing that's gonna be okay. Well, tomorrow morning, I know that I'm gonna watch this a little bit later, and my alarm. I hit that snooze button one too many times. Like whatever it is, like be proactive, be vigilant against those. My football coach used to say, plan for the unexpected.
Oh,
you know,
yes.
and he would say that, you guys have a long weekend, practices at 8 o'clock Monday morning, plan for the unexpected. There's going to be a traffic jam. You're going to wake up late. None of those excuses are going to count. So plan for the unexpected.
You mentioned that preparing for the resistance.
Yes.
Do you ever find people preparing for the resistance, but a lot of times people end up putting up blockages opposed to actually preparing for the resistance?
Yeah, they do. Absolutely. So it's like you hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Agreed. Yep.
Right? So yeah, so there's a difference between hoping for the best and preparing for the worst and being paranoid or being paralyzed by what could happen, right? So when those things start to happen, that's a whole different conversation. And that's when you have to pull someone back, say, we'll just go anyway. But when someone's on the other end where they're paralyzed and they can't make a decision, or they're just so paranoid about all the things that could go wrong, we gotta you gotta find a way to just chill on that, because it's gonna be there. Something could go wrong. You're right. Go anyway.
Yes. Something can and something probably will, but it's okay.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it probably will. Yeah.
It probably. Resilience. Your podcast killer, resilience. Like I honestly developed such a trigger to that word last year. Like, because everyone's like, Bridget, you're just so resilient. Right now, I just hate it. Just because of me hearing it so often. I was like, resiliency doesn't pay my bills, but.
Clarissa said that yesterday. I wrote that down, like big boss letters are misfortune. Like resilience is adapting to misfortune. And that's like, I love that because like it's true. Like that's gonna come. That's exactly it. And what do we do with that? Like how do we handle that? How do we, and for our clients too, like how do we bolster them against those things?
Yeah. Also for life.
Right.
dating, writing, school. I'm also post-bac pre-med. So for me, it's like that kind of how you're going to bounce back. Oh, I didn't do good on this quiz. Okay, how are you going to bounce back from that? Okay, I didn't do good on this, or I did great on this. How can I make this better? Like that kind of
Yes.
constant self-work or that constant self-improvement.
Yes. All
Yes, that
good. Yeah.
consistency is really important.
Consistency. So, can I
Because
have you back
actually,
sometime so we could talk about Pilates, maybe?
definitely. Oh yeah, we did not talk about Pilates barely.
It's all good. It's all good. I need these conversations where we could just talk and be just be. It's not about just, pretending to this is what I do and these are the letters after my name and look how long I've been training for. It's like this, just be, you
Yeah,
know?
half the time I don't even I tell people for me wellness half the time I don't even talk about like Pilates and personal training, like all that'll come later. Like that's great. Like for me, I just want you as a person. Like who are you as a person? Like I can tell a lot more about how you're going to be in a workout about how you are as a person. Like
Yes,
I'm more interested in you as a person than I am like, yeah, that's great, the money will come, the personal training and
for
Pilates,
sure.
it's going to come because I'm like that with all of my friends. All of my friends get some type of, you're going to get this workout or I'm going to send you this YouTube video that I
Hmm.
made.
Yeah, yeah.
But I find it a lot because for me, being a person, like starting as a personal trainer, it was more so like a what can you do? How much can you lift? How much can you squat? Can you swing this kettlebell? Like I don't really care.
Hmm.
Like I've
Yeah,
kind of got to that point with wellness. It's like I don't really care what you do, what's your modalities. Like that's cute, that's great. All of it's the same place. All of it
yeah,
comes from the same
right.
zenith. All the movements have been done. All the words have been said. All the counts have been counted, and all the beats have been marked. That's fine. That's always gonna be there.
Yes.
You as a person are always like you're always changing, and I realized for me the moments that I've had the most struggles with in my Pilates personal training or just like my wellness journey has been when I've tried to stifle my changing or stifle my growth.
Yes. Right. Right. Yeah. Hmm. Absolutely. Um, you got to roll with it, and also just to recognize too that like that is just one corner of who you are, and when you give too much airtime to that one piece, then the others start to drop off or don't get that same expression, and then we're back to what makes you come alive, and then it loses that, like, yeah, that was we just came full circle, my friends. That's all good.
That's life. Like, I had a dance teacher tell me this, and that is the one takeaway that stuck with my entire year. She was my gram teacher my freshman and sophomore year of college. She was like,
Okay.
life is a set of spirals of inwards and outwards, and as long as you just accept that, you'll be fine. Like life is just a set of spirals. That's it.
Yes, that's it. On that note, thank you so much for joining me today. That was like a super fast 58 minutes.
Yay. I'm glad to come back anytime.
Absolutely. Message and make that happen. You're so like just bouncing all over the place, eh?
That's fun. Yeah. Oh, sorry, my phone is like updating like extremely. Like now it's like, oh, all these people have just joined. Okay, great. Weird.
Yes.
But
Good stuff. All right, V, thank you so much for joining me. And
yay.
all right, I'll message you after.
Yes. How do I get out of here?